Good evening. Welcome, everybody. My name is Charlie Lewis, and I am the president of the Howard University Alumni Association. I am glad tonight to have this important conversation around giving to our alma mater. I introduce our special guest of the evening, the one and only Princess Gamble. This might be some of you first time seeing Princess. I know a lot of you in the DC area probably know her. Princess is now the Associate Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Development of the Alumni Relations. She brings over 25 years of experience, direct fundraising experience to Howard, and joins the university from the Smithsonian Institute, where she was a member of the founding staff of the National Museum of African American History and Culture nearly 14 years ago. So welcome, Princess, to the show.
Hi, Charlie. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. And Charlie, thanks so much for making time for us this evening.
Definitely, definitely. I think it's definitely an important conversation. A lot is going on with Howard. We are growing the student body. The activity around HBCUs is at an all-time high. And it is time for us to really have a real good, frank discussion to alumni, from the ones who have just recently graduated to the ones that graduated over 30, 40, and 50 and 60 years ago. So with our alumni base being roughly around 86,000 people, let's get into this conversation of why giving is so important. So currently right now, what is HU's alumni giving rate?
We are now at a participation rate of 12.5%. And as that ranks, national average is about 8%. Among HBCUs, it's been hovering around 10% over the last decade. So Howard is performing well, but has so much more potential. When you look at other schools like the Ivies, et cetera, they tout larger numbers. So we still have work to do, but we are certainly at a good point for starting.
And why is the alumni giving rate so important when it comes down to, the number, and we're really concerned about that? What is the importance behind that?
Let me first go back and say, Charlie, that what it means, what does the alumni giving rate actually mean? And that is the percentage of reachable alumni from the institution that receive credit for contributions. Typically it's undergraduate alumni as well. And why is it so important? So I first can start with some of the things that having a robust alumni participation rate gets you. Alumni participation rates are considered in all of our accreditation. That's, certainly key. It's in the rankings that Howard has enjoyed being right up there in the national highs of rankings. So alumni participation rate is considered there. But it is also key to the fundraising number. When you look at the foundation of fundraising at the institution, alumni is steadfast, it's steady. That rate should be something that we can depend on. Alumni participation rates are the things that I hope that we are able to budget against. And that sort of fundraising is typically, most of it is unrestricted when we talk about it in this way. Certainly alumni are able to give restricted gifts. So I don't want to be confusing about that. But the unrestricted, we'll get into it.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you get into restricted versus non-restricted and really let our audience know the difference in those types of gifts?
Sure. So unrestricted dollars, let me say, are the dollars that are given to an institution, an entity that the institution is allowed to decide what they do with it, how they spend it. Really, it's how they apply it to which need and which priority they are trying to pursue. Unrestricted dollars are the most flexible and it allows an institution or a university to be its most nimble. It allows the university to respond to the needs in real time. Restricted gifts are usually programmatic gifts that are targeted at one key thing, certainly highly valuable, but they are targeted at one key goal. They're programmatic, or they're looking at maybe a staff, a professor. They are focused. And you have to do, you agree, the university would be agreeing to do exactly what that donor said it wanted. And so that is the difference. So in this age where we are experiencing large giving, like large giving at Howard, a lot of those gifts are restricted. Now, it allows us to move some of the efforts in our schools and colleges. It certainly allows us to move forward. But the unrestricted dollars allow us to be the most nimble, to be responsive in the moment.
So those gifts allow us, if the alumni rate was even higher than the 12.5%, or if we got even more unrestricted funds, it allows us, as you stated, to be nimble. So it also allows us to hire those faculty members, retain that staff, pay those higher wages that we need. It allows us to do those things in current use for the university. Is that correct?
It absolutely does. It is some of your best source of funding for, like I said, what you need in the moment. So if it's faculty, if it's plant improvements, whatever may come about at that particular time, it allows the university the flexibility to align it with its priorities.
Okay. Now, how does that differ? A lot of people know about Howard and the appropriation and how we are written into the charter to give. Our appropriation is somewhere around $240 million. Our operating budget to run Howard is at what's the dollar amount for the operating budget?
I knew you were going to ask, so hold on one second, because I actually have it here. We are now at around 900 million. So when you see that's a huge gap.
Right.
And it's interesting, in our fundraising, we are often, folks want to know, well, don't you get this major appropriation? So I think it's very important for folks to know that's a $700 million gap. The money that we require outside of that is what helps us be Howard. It's what helps us move forward. It's what helps us pursue excellence. The appropriation is actually baseline funding. I like to think of it as, the lights won't go off, but will they be the best lights? You know what I mean? So that's the difference.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, it's you certainly need it. We're certainly most appreciative to have our appropriation. That's what Howard was founded on. So I don't want to ever discount that. But when you talk about a $700 million gap and the work that needs to be done in order to bridge that, I hope that provides a baseline for folks to understand why philanthropy and why their giving is so important.
Yeah, because I remember, and I just want to go back, I came out of School of B 1989, and at that time, the appropriation, was around 400 million. And I think our tuition at that time roughly was around between 7 and 10,000. And our tuition today is we're down 160 million, and our tuition today is around $48,000. So when you look at the numbers and the context, and when you throw in inflation on top of that, you can see how that number really does shrink what it takes to run the university, which is really important. Also, too, since that money is given by the government, if the government goes on strike, then we have to borrow against that funds, correct?
That is correct. It's also not a guarantee. I mean, whatever happens, in the federal government, does affect how that appropriation, comes to the university. And more the federal government is looking for institutions, universities, et cetera, to stand on their own, and, put more into it. So I think it's very important to understand that, you also have to have the independence of, what it means to raise those dollars, because your appropriation, it varies from year to year, and, anything can happen in the country that could, affect your appropriation.
True, true. And that's the real key, because that 240 million, that allows us to do a lot of different things that we normally would not be able to do if we
Absolutely.
up against a budget that's around almost $1 billion.
Mhm.
Let's talk about some of those ratings and some of those rankings and benchmarkings about Howard and where do we stand today. So where do we stand when we look at ourselves against our constituents out there in the other schools and colleges that we compete against?
Well, we are, number 4 in the social mobility ranking. We're number 31 on the U.S. News and World Report for best undergraduate teaching, 58 for most innovative schools. We have the highest number of Rhodes Scholars to study at Oxford. Howard is a competitor. I mean, we are going up against the best and brightest across the country in every single way, from research to undergraduate study to graduate study across the board. So, when I looked at Howard, you can just see the excellence and how it's growing over the years, and now how it's being recognized. Howard is attracting, I think that's another key point. Admissions rates are up, and Howard is attracting the best and brightest students from not only the United States, but across the world. So I think these are, key things to understand how the philanthropy, how the fundraising drives all of these other things. Because when you think about it and you're sending your precious child off to college, you want to know that they're going to the best place for them. And fundraising undergirds all of that.
Cool. All right. Well, as a new person in the development of Alumni Relations, kind of give us the structure of how your department, what you guys are doing. I know you work directly with David Bennett. He's your boss. You report up to
Yes.
David?
SVP.
Yes. SVP. So as you come in, you're coming into Howard. I know you have staffed up, but give the people out here, our alum, the structure and what's important and what are we doing today that's different from what we've been doing in the past?
Certainly. Well, one, I first have to say I'm delighted to work with David Bennett as the SVP. David has climbed a mountain and done a mountain of work getting Howard to where it is, and to the success that it is experiencing at this point. I have to say, it's David's vision of how we staff up, and he got things so we could, that the university was able to make an investment in development and alumni relations. I am the AVP COO. I think of myself as David's partner on the ground. I am in the office with the staff. I am looking at standard operating procedures. I am looking at campaign structures. I had experience in that from my prior position at the Smithsonian. I am just looking purely at how we work better in every aspect. So when you think about the department, we have a large department of advancement services, advancement operations. I know most of the people on this call are familiar with the renowned Jeremy Randall, who is the hardest working man at Howard besides President Frederick, I think. But Jeremy is running the back of the house function, which everything we do is built upon. We now have a new annual giving office. We only have one person there now, but we will be staffing up. We're looking at how we engage alumni and friends to giving regularly, yearly to Howard, not just making one big cash gift, but how do you give regularly to Howard, and what are the messages we're pushing out so that you will know and have a better understanding of what you are supporting. Of course, we have our Office of Alumni Relations also staffing up. Proud to say that our leader there, Sharon Strange Lewis, and everybody knows El Haji as well, I'm learning, have two new colleagues joining them, making it able for them to engage with alumni that much better, that much more often, that much more strategic. As you move down the hall, now we are looking at our development officers, our directors of development. First, I want to say we have an institutional giving office, and Howard has experienced unprecedented giving from corporations and foundations. That is probably even a little more robust than most institutions. Howard enjoys corporate giving at a fairly high rate. And so we do have two officers that are committed to raising money from corporates and foundations. And that is anything from sponsorships as well as unrestricted and restricted giving. Mostly in those cases, it is restricted giving. Right. We also have a new development communications function where we're really looking at how we're communicating with our constituents, our donors, as well as our alumni, and what materials and product are we putting out. I think it'll come up later in the conversation, but we're really looking at our web pages and making sure they're effective, how we show up on social media. Again, what is the constant messaging and how we talk about Howard? I feel like Howard has this magic, but nobody has ever been able to capture that lightning in the bottle that Howard is, that all of you Bison strongly feel. Then we have moved to a structure, and this is a structure that was in place. I didn't say, I had worked here 18 years ago, and I was the director of development then in the School of Business. And you will see that now we're going back to that model where our hope is to have directors of development in each of the schools and colleges, making it better able. That director of development will handle fundraising from that school and college. It will be the driver. So it will be the person that alumni can contact, as well as a corporate representative. They will be the person that works directly with interpreting the dean's vision. So I am really proud to say that we have just about staffed up most of the schools. We have 2 more positions right now that are out for posting, but we are staffing those schools and colleges up to help make all of this robust. And Charlie, my goal is to build the infrastructure for which all this can work, and so that this team can work as a well-oiled machine, collaborating in each of the areas, that the DODs are working with the annual giving folks, and the annual giving folks are working with alumni relations, and that this we're coming out with cohesive messaging and a united front to better service all of our constituents.
Oh, that's a lot. And that's all new. So there's always one question that a lot of alumni always ask, is that I would love to give to Howard, but Howard have not asked me for a gift. Or, you know, they might be in a position within their company because they're in a C-suite or managerial role where they might be able to connect. They know that their company is trying to do more in the D&I space, and so they want to connect with Howard. How do they go about doing that?
Well, there are several points that someone who wants to give to Howard, but I want to first address, not being asked, not being aware of how it all works. And I would say that with this new structure, you know, my hope is that our alumni are getting hit from several points, are getting have better communication, are receiving annual giving notices, are coming up in the director of development's pipeline so that they're being reached out to. Charlie, I am aware that this is something that we've got to hunker down and really do. You can't imagine the number of family members. Well, no one has asked me, and I know of the success rates of Howard alumni. So that's the first thing. That is part of our task, because everyone in that department now has to raise their sights and is being expected to produce. So they're going to need to be in contact with more alumni, more companies, more opportunities to solicit funds. So that's where we are there. As it relates to getting in contact with members of the department, I just want everyone to know, first of all, doors are open. Please don't ever hesitate to call, email, do whatever. I don't want it to be that difficult. If you could put up on the screen the list of contact members, and do know, community, that the website is going to be updated with current contact information. It is under construction. So if you look here, you will see, and we will also post this at the end of the call. This is our list of directors of development. We also have included a general number, and you can call and ask to speak to any one of us that you feel that you need to get in contact with. This is a live number. It is not a recording. We have a wonderful receptionist, Cheryl Green, who will answer that number at the bottom. So we are looking forward to receiving your phone calls, answering questions, and just generally being available.
If you don't see your school or college on here, like I don't see the School of C, and I don't see Arts and Sciences, who do they get in contact with?
I would ask that they would call the direct office, and she will direct you. And Christina Alexander is your Center for Arts and Communication, so the School of C.
Right.
We are currently hiring for Arts and Sciences. We are currently hiring social work, and divinity as well, and education. So they're coming.
I like this model, because this model allows the development chair, the director of development, to work with the chair of each department, so that each department, each school and college can figure out, hey, we need this, we need X, we need Y, and we need Z. And then therefore, Morgan and James and Toya and all of them can go out and they can look at different companies or different corporations or organizations or grants that can bring them in. I mean, it's the smart way to do fundraising, especially during this time with our needs, because a lot of people, I think we forget how big Howard is.
Yes.
You graduate from your school and you sometimes just get in tunnel vision about like the School of Business, and you forget that we are now 14 schools and colleges, plus a hospital, plus a radio station, television station, and 2 other campuses, and plus your athletic programs. So it really is a lot of components that have to come together in order for the university to continue to grow and in order to bring its best services to its constituents.
Yes.
So.
And most universities that have performed at the level that Howard is performing have hundreds of people in the development office. So we are rapidly building and looking at strategies, et cetera, for how we continue to grow.
Okay. So last year, I know we got in some pretty big gifts. Do you want to talk about any of those in particular that comes to mind, just to kind of give people, our audience, a different approach of, restricted gift versus a non-restricted gift?
So one of the probably most historic gifts, and one that I hear, when I'm on the street, well, y'all got 40 million from Mackenzie Bezos, like everything should be okay.
It's that $900 million budget.
Exactly, exactly. And that was, it was a landmark gift. And it was unrestricted, which in my tenure, I haven't heard of too many gifts of that size that were unrestricted. And it has allowed us to address several needs. But in the case of a school like Howard University, that goes fairly quickly. One of the gifts that I was especially proud of. I was not involved in soliciting it, but Eddie and Sylvia Brown, Howard alumni, gave $5 million last year. And that is the largest alumni gift
Really?
that Howard has received. And the Browns have just been amazing philanthropists throughout the country. They're making sure they're leaving a legacy that will allow us to build upon, and they have left that legacy across the country. We've also received a great gift from Bloomberg at 32.8 million. Another gift that is especially compelling is 21 million actually from Marriott, the Marriott Foundation for the Arnie Sorensen Center. And that one is especially interesting because it's a model. It's establishing the Center for Hospitality Leadership. It is a model for how we can work with a corporation to achieve their goals and ours. It is very much a collaborative relationship. Then we have the Karshes, who did 10 million for our STEM Scholars Program. And so there are many gifts that are doing great things. We're receiving a large investment in our GRACE grant, in our GRACE scholarships programs as well. So the community, like I said, Howard is on the map. They're recognizing the value of this investment, what it means, if you're a corporation, what it means to build your pipeline of employees, but also what it means for the world to have more students come out of Howard with their talents.
Good, which is a good question. I mean, a good lead into my next question, which is, what is Howard currently doing now with the current students to basically get them in the habit of giving?
So now that Alumni Relations is able to have more colleagues to work with, we will move toward a model that we will begin engaging students at the undergraduate level. We're talking about it, but Charlie, that is not a sound program. It's not programmatic yet. It is an idea that we will act on in the next year or two, because giving starts with the class. Of course, everyone, you probably in 1989 came out knowing that you had to provide a class gift. But we are looking at how we engage each of the students in and making sure this is part of their plan as they move forward. So that one is more to come at this point.
Okay, okay. What are some of our HU's current priorities as we move forward into this year, next year? I know we've all have COVID fatigue. It hasn't allowed us to be together in a group, and us Bison, we love to gather as a herd. It's really, it motivates us. It gets us to, it's a time when we come together. Of course, Homecoming and Charter Day and all of these programs have become virtual. I mean, this year we had a light homecoming, but it was really off campus. So we really haven't had that opportunity to continue to grow. And even Charter Day is one of our big fundraisers now. Before, it used to bleed money, and 2 years ago, I think it made over $1 million at the time. So what are some of the things that we are prioritizing as we go through this fatigue, as we try to get people and keep people engaged? and excited about Howard, just like all these kids are today that's trying to get to Howard. So what are our priorities?
I'm going to speak a little bit outside of development and alumni relations and just say, you know, hats off to Howard for how they have handled things during COVID. I think it's important for the community to know that we are back in offices, we are working, and we are only able to do that because of the, you know, excellent testing that we're receiving. There is access to, you know, vaccines, et cetera. You can manage COVID at Howard. And so I really wanted, like I said, to speak outside because it is pushing us toward in-person. Howard is trying to get back to normal. And I think that's key. While we had, I think Omicron kind of took everybody by storm and nobody saw that coming.
Nobody.
And that sort of set activities back, but Howard even rallied around that with, you know, weekly testing. We have a Bison Safe app. So I want everyone to know that hopefully, you know, we can't gauge what will happen in the world, but hopefully next year we will be able to enjoy some of the things that we have become accustomed to. Right now in our planning, we are thinking and planning as if we're going to be in person for things. So that's first of all. Second of all, I think how, and probably most of this community is more familiar with Howard Forward than even I am, but Howard's priorities are still steeped in the Howard Forward: advancing academic excellence, inspiring new knowledge, serving the community, improving our efficiency and effectiveness. And I want to say that that is a key value of mine in the office, looking at response rates, making sure we're reporting out on time, getting folks the information we need. We still have growth in that area, but it is certainly a priority, and achieving financial stability. That's where those are the Howard priorities. But I think in response to where we started, I just have to say Howard is moving to getting back to total normal, where students can feel safe on campus, where our events and activities can be held in person.
Okay, okay. Are we exploring any new capital campaigns, or is that a part of Howard Forward?
Absolutely, but that is part of Howard Forward, and I'm sorry I didn't bring that out. Yes, we are looking at and planning our next campaign, which we hope will be historic. We have made strides in that area, and as we speak so loudly about it right now, I would call this our silent phase of that campaign. And we will, as we're planning, we're looking at which things will be the priorities of that campaign. But I know that it has already been said publicly that the fiscal plan is certainly part and a key priority for how we move forward. So, you know, what will we be building? What will we be improving? All of those things are yet to be finalized, but this is the conversation that is happening. So we are really looking at focused fundraising.
Okay. When you say silent campaign that's currently happening now, what does that mean for some of the alumni that's out there?
Really that we're doing the planning that would launch us into a comprehensive fundraising effort that would help us achieve the priorities that are identified and finalized.
Okay, okay. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. As far as the alumni, and I mean, you know, from HUAA's perspective, we kind of stand in three pillars: engagement, fundraising, and service. And we really stick with fundraising on the scholarship side for the young, for the clubs. We have over 66 local clubs, and so we try to do fundraising to provide scholarships for freshmen who are entering or either graduate seniors. Engagement has been a big topic around the DAR and what's happening. How do you see that intertwining with some of the strategic moves that you're making currently right now?
I'm hoping the more engaged that Howard alumni are, the more informed they become, the better they can feel about giving their resources to the university to achieve its goals. So I really believe that engagement is key to how we move the university alumni relationship forward. It's, like I said, more information, the participating on the roundtables, having more materials sent to you so you are fully informed about where Howard is going. Howard also can be of service to its alumni. And I feel like that's a reciprocal relationship. As long as we are pouring into our alumni, I believe our alumni will take care of us. It is foundational to how we move forward.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sounds good to me. Now I would like to take a couple of the questions that was written in from some of the alumni. And some of these we kind of went over, but is the Office of Annual Giving being expanded or enlarged to better able to receive these donations? And I presume you answered that with the growth of what we're seeing right now.
We have an excellent, Sloan Cargill has joined our staff. She's a guru in the annual giving space, and we're looking at just how much more we can do in that space, how we are more in contact with the alumni, and how we can grow out that function. I will tell you, annual giving fundraising is some of the most expensive fundraising there is, so we will grow. We will go as we grow. Let me say that. We will grow that department and how much we can really do as we grow. But we are excited about the prospect of annual giving and just all the potential we have in that area.
Okay. Is there a place that publishes a complete list of funding opportunities for alumni to choose what they want to give to?
Let me say, we have a ways of giving, and that's not really the answer to that question, but I do have to direct to that. And these are the types of giving vehicles that an alumni can participate in, from planned giving to setting up scholarship funds, setting up endowments, those kinds of things. Now, we will have that outlined clearly, but the relationship with the director of development is designed so that alumni can customize what they want to contribute to, how they want to participate. Again, my goal is to make sure everyone is informed of all the opportunities, but that won't mean like the Lucy Brown Scholarship Fund. That won't mean that. It will mean that you can give to scholarship, and really trying to foster an understanding of what all the giving opportunities are, all the ways that you can support Howard. So it'll be more categorical than actual separate funds.
Right. Okay. And I'm going to piggyback on that with the endowment fund. There was another question here about the amount of the endowment for a scholarship fund has increased. We believe it now is $100,000. It was $50,000 before. Is that correct? Is it 100 now?
It's 100 now.
Okay. Okay. Will there be lower amounts for HUAA? That's not going to happen. So we're going to knock that. How are you encouraging the alumni to give more? And should you initiate a program where volunteering services are recognized as well? Volunteering is like tutoring, mentoring, etc. And if you monetize those services, it will truly give you a truer picture of the amount of money that alumni is giving. I think I'll answer that question. That is where HUAA comes into play. Volunteering and tutoring and our mentor program, those are programs that you can get involved in your local club. Those, that it's kind of, what is it? My ties and my talent. Your talent is not going to keep the lights on at Howard, but it will motivate and inspire people to become better at what they're doing, give them guidance and direction. So it would be good to be able to track services of your giving, of your volunteering, because that is, like they say, your talents is just as good as your monetary thing. Everybody can't give, but if we can all take the time to just give $5, $10 a month, that would be great. And you can set up that on a reoccurring monthly.
And I want to emphasize that because, again, I want everyone to understand how foundational that kind of giving is to the university. If we can depend on it and we know it's there, we can budget against it. It allows us to be flexible and nimble. I don't want anyone, I want everyone to understand that they're giving at any level, especially if it's recurring, is an invaluable gift to the university.
Totally. Set up that reoccurring gift. This is more of a comment than a question. This is the first year that I received an email that enumerated the amount given, in this case in 2021, and that was truly appreciated. It would be nice if we could get this letter 6 months in the year so that alumni can see where they need to pick up their giving. I agree with that 100%. I love that when it came across, it actually showed my monthly giving. And then when I get to programs, and that was the first time that I've been able to see that. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I gave this amount of money, but you know, you can always give more. And I agree with that statement. If it could be biannually, I think that would be a good recommendation.
Great recommendation taken. Allow us the opportunity to get there. I know right now it will probably remain annual for a little while. Those are, very difficult to pull together and make sure they're accurate, et cetera. But the recommendation is most certainly taken. My goal will be to make sure they're getting out to you on time annually so that you can really see the level of detail that makes a difference in your giving. But we will review that recommendation, certainly.
Okay. We have one other question here. And that is, can you expound on the reoccurring gifts? Can you expound on the reoccurring gifts a little bit more in regards to, hold on one, it just came in, expounding the reoccurring gift and how a large number, if small donations, help with the museum model and help cultivate supporters?
Oh, I mean, that, like I said, right now, that kind of giving is key because it's the giving you can count on, you can budget against. And, small gifts, they add up very quickly.
Yeah.
So again, like I said, that is the unrestricted money that the university can use to answer its needs. I hope I'm answering what the question is, actually, but small giving, and it also shows the participation.
Right.
It gets everybody involved in a system and a culture of philanthropy for the university, which is really key. So again, it allows us, the more you become engaged, it allows us the opportunity to engage you.
Exactly. And I think one thing, a lot of people, if anybody's listening that is not getting any emails, all you need to do is go to howard.edu/giving and give a donation, and you will be in the system. And they will start sending you requests for funds over and over and over. So that's howard.edu/giving. And you will be able to give there, and you will get into the system. And once you're in the system, trust me, they will contact you and make sure that you are aware of all fundraising opportunities that are out there that you can give, and that you can give to the Emergency Scholarship Fund and the Annual Fund. Let's put that list of
contacts.
Of contacts back up. And then for those people who may have come on late, can you go over this part one more time, just to really specify how we have changed our model and how this will affect us to be better stewards at going after our needs for our schools and colleges?
Sure. This is our list of directors of development, our current list in the schools and colleges. There are other contact people that are in the development office, but these are the directors of development in the schools and colleges. And at the bottom of the page, you have a direct number, a live number, not a recording, to Alumni Relations, who can help direct any of your inquiries to the proper person in development. So this is your portal into helping you with your giving.
Cool. So if you can just if y'all are at home, you want to take a snapshot with your phone, so you can have that information in your phone, that would be great. Also too, like I stated before, feel free to give tonight at howard.edu/giving. Always have to ask for money when we're in front of the people. But let's end this tonight with, since this is your first year, what is your goal as you lead us and help lead us into the future in your particular role?
My goal is to work toward effective and efficient infrastructure that we can build upon and move forward into the future that will lead to greater fundraising success. At the end of the day, it is about, for our department, it is about the number. We need the dollars, and I want to make sure we are being our best, responsive, informative, and like I said, effective and efficient. My other goal, secretly, and the staff will, well, not so secretly, because I say it all the time, but if I could get, for every time I hear a dollar associated with that pride, like I said, it's a beautiful thing. I grew up in the DMV, so I am very much aware of Howard pride. I'm married to a bison as well, and he is hard to live with.
We all.
When it comes to his Howard. But I would like to help turn those dollars through good service. I would like to turn those into some sort of investment and general good feeling about the university. That is my goal, Charlie.
Okay, all right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna sneak in one more question. I think we got time. You coming from the Smithsonian, which was a big endeavor, and it was, the brand itself is similar to, when you say Smithsonian, everybody knows that. When you say Howard University, everybody knows that. Your best practice, what would you like to see put in play at Howard that is not currently being worked on?
That's not currently being, well, this is being worked on, but I really want to build out annual giving.
Okay.
Oh, that was a real trick one.
Oh,
I do know. I want to make sure, and it wasn't always 100% at the Smithsonian either. I think one of the things that institutions and universities across the country are grappling with are sound stewardship practices. And so that I certainly want to be part of the legacy I leave behind, is that when you give, you feel confident that you're going to get your thank you letter, you're going to get your report, you're going to know what's happening at the university. I also believe that sound stewardship practices will ultimately lead to us retaining our donors, having repeat gifts, having them grow larger, and for there being general good feeling across the board about giving to Howard University. So stewardship is probably one of the key best practices that really any institution or university could tell you that they need to hone in on, focus on.
All right. Well, thank you for this evening. You've given us a nice insight around giving, and the importance of giving and how you are building out the development department. So I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Princess Gamble, the new Associate VP and COO of the Development of Alumni Relations. So thank you for joining us tonight, and take care.
Thank you for allowing me this time. I appreciate it so much, Charlie.
And here you go. HU.
You know, come on with the dollars. Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome. Thank you. Enjoy your evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right.